You're about to send a message. Your thumb hovers over the send button. You read the whole thing back one more time. You change one word. Then you change it back. Then you delete a small filler and retype the sentence slightly differently. And then finally, you press send. Most people never notice they do this. But if you just recognized yourself in that 10-second scene, that tiny act is not a habit, it's a signal. It's one of the 10 small behaviors we're going to walk through today. And by the end, you may realize that the things you thought were quirks are actually the most consistent evidence you have that your mind moves through experience a little more deliberately than most. These are not personality traits. They are not moods. They are the small, repeatable actions you take almost automatically, and each one is a tell. When people describe minds like yours, they usually reach for adjectives. Deep, sensitive, overthinker, quiet. Those words feel true, but they're too soft to be useful. Adjectives don't prove anything. Behaviors do. The reason these 10 behaviors show up together, over and over, in the same kind of person, isn't that they all come from one hidden place inside you. They cluster because a mind that processes experience deliberately tends to leave the same kinds of fingerprints. Small, repeatable choices you barely remember making that add up to a pattern only you can read. Some of those choices trace back to how you handle information. Some come from how you handle yourself when nobody's watching. Some show up in how you handle other people. All of them share one thing: they cost extra attention. Cognitive scientists have a plain word for that cost: cognitive load, the amount of active processing a mind is holding at any given moment. Cognitive load rises whenever the mind has to hold and weigh multiple things at once. And if you're constantly tracking tone, meaning, implication, and your own response inside the same conversation, you may be carrying more of it than you realize. That extra processing has a cost, you already know that, but it also leaves fingerprints. Small ones. Tiny reflexes hidden inside your day. This is the field guide to those fingerprints. Behavior 1. You rewrite your own texts before sending them. Not important texts, ordinary ones. A reply to a friend, a work message, even a birthday note. You reread it. You feel a word land wrong. You swap it for one that fits your actual meaning a little better. Some people write and hit send. You write, revise, and land. That extra step is your brain refusing to let a slightly inaccurate version of you go out into the world. Behavior 2. You take an extra beat before answering "How are you?" The automatic answer is usually good. You feel a small hesitation, a quick internal check, and then you say something one honest degree closer to the truth. It looks like nothing. It is not nothing. It's a small refusal to answer entirely on autopilot. Behavior 3. You save articles, screenshots, and open tabs you almost never come back to. A quote you liked, a study you meant to read, a podcast episode someone mentioned, your desktop, your notes app, your bookmarks. They're a graveyard of things you were going to return to. Sometimes that graveyard is just disorganization. But sometimes it's something more revealing, a running list of the versions of yourself you might still become. You collect ideas the way other people collect photographs. The next few are stranger, because you're usually doing them while nobody, including you, is watching. Behavior 4. You replay conversations hours after they end. Not the arguments, not the humiliating ones. The ordinary ones. A 5-minute chat at the coffee machine. Something a friend said in passing. You catch your mind rerunning it while you're in the shower or driving home. Sometimes that replay is anxiety. Sometimes it's rumination. But sometimes it's something else. Your mind quietly trying to finish processing what the moment meant. That kind of reflection can resemble what memory researchers call a laborative encoding, the way minds strengthen the parts of an experience they've decided matter. You're not always overthinking the conversation. Sometimes you're finishing it. Behavior 5. You catch yourself watching your own tone. Mid-sentence. You notice the pitch of your own voice, the volume, the pace. You notice that you just laughed a beat too long at a joke that wasn't that funny. You notice you softened your opinion because a person in the room might not like it. Not everyone has this second track running while they're speaking. You do. Psychologists call this kind of self-observation metacognition, and it can help you notice your own patterns while they are still unfolding. Behavior 6. When someone is upset, you ask a follow-up question instead of offering advice. Advice would be easier. Advice would let you exit the moment. But some quiet part of you senses that the person in front of you may not need a solution yet. Sometimes they need a witness before they need a solution. So you ask another question, and then another. You let them keep talking, and by the end of the conversation, they often feel better without you having fixed anything at all. Behavior 7. Generic praise makes you uncomfortable. Someone says, "You're amazing. It should feel good." It doesn't quite, it slides off. But when someone says, "The way you handled that specific thing on Thursday actually changed how I thought about it," something in you finally lands. You are not immune to praise. Generic praise simply doesn't reach you as easily when it could have been said to anyone. Your system trusts specificity. It doesn't trust noise. The last three are a little different. They don't just show how you process yourself. They show how you process the people around you. Behavior 8. Weeks after an argument, you quietly change your position. Not in front of them. Not with an announcement. Just one Tuesday afternoon, you realize the person you disagreed with had a piece of it right. And you update. You would rather be accurate a week late than be right and wrong forever. Behavior 9. You feel a private wave of relief when good plans get canceled. Not bad plans. Good ones. The dinner you were looking forward to. The birthday you actually wanted to attend. Someone texts that they can't make it, and before the disappointment lands, there is a strange, embarrassing half-second of relief. That relief isn't a sign you don't love people. It's a sign that your mind had already been quietly measuring what the evening was going to cost it, and knew, before you did, that it needed the bandwidth back. Behavior 10. You notice patterns in people before you have language for them. You meet someone new, and something in you seems to know within the first few minutes. This person is a little uncomfortable and hiding it. That person cares more than they're letting on. Sometimes that first impression turns out to be surprisingly accurate. Sometimes it doesn't. What matters isn't that you're always right. It's that your mind notices patterns before it has fully translated them into language. That gap, knowing before naming, is one of the loneliest gifts a mind can have, because you're often carrying a sense of people that they haven't given you permission to see. And that last one is where the honest part of this video begins. Because if you saw yourself in most of the 10, then you already know what it costs to walk around with a mind that runs this many background processes. The rereading, the replaying, the noticing, the private auditing, none of it stops. Even when you're tired. Even when you wish it would. And it can feel, some nights, like everyone else got a version of the operating system that lets them rest, and you got one that stays on. That is real. It is not a story you're telling yourself. But here is the part most videos about minds like yours quietly skip. Every one of these 10 behaviors has a healthy version and an exhausted version, and the difference between them matters more than any of the traits themselves. Precision, at its edge, becomes perfectionism. Reflection, at its edge, becomes rumination. Empathy, at its edge, becomes taking on responsibility that was never yours to carry. Self-awareness, at its edge, becomes self-surveillance, a version of you watching every version of you, until nothing feels natural anymore. The strengths and the costs are not two different things. They are the same trait, running at different volumes. The goal isn't to stop being this kind of mind. It's to notice when the gift has crossed into a cost. Rewriting one message is precision. Rewriting the same message 11 times is something else. Replaying a conversation once is meaning-making. Replaying it every night for a week may mean the moment is no longer asking for reflection. It's asking for resolution. The behaviors themselves aren't the problem. The volume they're running at can be. But taken at a fair volume, these behaviors are not, by themselves, evidence that something is wrong. They are the behaviors of a person who cares about accuracy in a world that mostly settles for close enough. Who cares about the meaning of a moment, not just its occurrence. Who refuses to fake certainty they don't have, or agreement they don't feel, or fine when they are anything but fine. And the reason you have often felt misread is that the world sees the behavior and misses the intention. Someone sees you rewriting a text and calls it overthinking. Someone sees you replay a conversation and calls it anxious. Someone sees you go quiet before answering and calls it aloof. What they missed is that every one of those small acts was your mind refusing to be careless with something another person might have moved past more quickly. You don't have to treat every one of these behaviors as something that needs fixing. Some of them do. When they're running too loud. Most of them don't. They are not proof that something is wrong with you. Taken together, at the right volume, they're simply a signature of how carefully your mind moves through the world. You've been writing your signature for years, in 10 small acts, every day. Read it back.